Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Over Circle. Today my name is Vero, and I'd like to welcome you all here. Today we have a great webinar on fitness. We're talking about fitness in midlife. You guys, have you reached a point in your life where what you were doing in your 20s and early 30s for your fitness just doesn't seem to cut it anymore? And the weight keeps pounding up and nothing is working. And as women, what do we resort to? We resort to exercising more and cutting more calories, restricting even more, and going through all sorts of fad diets, be it intermittent fasting, 1 meal a day, etc., etc. Well, the thing is, as we transition towards towards menopause and towards as we are approaching midlife, what we don't realize is that as our bodies are changing and our hormone profiles are changing, even our fitness and how we approach fitness has to change. So today I am joined by Coach Shiv Simani, who will take us through fitness in midlife, what to expect and what we can do about it, and how best to approach fitness as we approach midlife. So welcome, Coach Shiv, and over to you. Let's go.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Veronica. Good evening, everyone. I hope you guys are having an amazing evening, have had an amazing day, and yeah, are ready with your questions and are ready with an open mind and to learn and to let in all this information, although we've tried to make it as easy as possible and take it step by step through the whole webinar. So this is more of an introduction into why fitness is important in your perimenopause and menopause and beyond stages of life. So yeah, I think not me, but I think we will all pass through that stage at some point, hopefully, and be strong through it and come out even stronger at the end of it. So I'll just jump right into the webinar. And in terms of questions, if you have any questions at any point, just put them in the comment section. We'll periodically stop to answer the questions. Other than that, we'll just try and keep it flowing. Cool? Cool. Who knew that my first live of the year would be about perimenopause and menopause? Not me. But I am so interested and I'm so excited to be doing this because this is it's not new, but it's something that I think is extremely essential and important to go through. All right, so let's do this. Let me just share my screen and there we go. View this as a slideshow. All right, so unpacking fitness in midlife. And I'm also, So unpacking fitness in midlife. And I'm also live on IG. So IG crew, if you'd like to have access to this, you'd have to join the Over Circle group. So unpacking fitness in midlife. So understanding fitness during your menopause and the benefits of exercise in perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. Yeah, presented by me. Okay. Maybe I should introduce myself in terms of who I am and what I do. So my name is Shiverenje Simani, but in short, you can call me Shiv Simani. I am a CrossFit level 1 coach. I am a social media wellness influencer, and I have 12 years experience in bodybuilding, powerlifting, and CrossFit. I've competed in both CrossFit and in bodybuilding competitions, and I continue to also compete this year in some triathlons, 2019 in some triathlons. So I've also competed in triathlons, in endurance sports, in football. So basically anything to do with sports and nutrition, count me in. So all out fitness enthusiast. I am a dad, I am a husband to 1, dad to 3, 2 girls and 1 dog who I'd say is my son, but yeah, that's who I am. Now, let's get into this. So this is, for this part, I think I'll just go through it though. What is menopause? So menopause is a natural phase marking the end of your menstrual cycle, typically occurring in midlife, on average age 45 to 55. And it's accompanied by hormonal changes that affect both your physical and your mental health. Yeah. Such key physical changes would include things such as a decline in your estrogen levels, and decline in estrogen levels would lead to fat redistribution, and that changes your composition of your body. It would lead to a slower metabolism, making weight management even harder. So if you felt like at 20 you could eat or do anything and not add weight, then it gets harder and harder the older you grow. Then it also leads to a decrease in bone density, bone density and muscle mass. Yeah. And what is perimenopause? So perimenopause means around menopause. It refers to the time which your body makes a natural transition to menopause, marking the end of the reproductive years. Perimenopause is also called the menopausal transition. Yeah. So moving on. Symptoms may include, and not just limited to, irritability, increased anger, low mood, depression and anxiety, lack of interest, hot flashes, vaginal dryness and pain, itching or discomfort during sex. And on the other day, I just discovered that itchy ears is also a symptom. Let me just tell you that being on this group, I'm also learning. There's so many things that I've learned, and it's so amazing to be part of this, because this is not stuff you find anywhere and it's not talked about as much. So it's good to see that there's a community where we can have these kinds of discussions. Another symptom would be headaches and migraines, muscle aches and joint pains, changed body shape and weight gain, skin changes included dry and itchy skin, reduced sex drive, brain fog, and there may be more, but I just listed a few of the symptoms that may come with menopause. Yeah. So the hormones primarily affected during menopause, one is estrogen. So the levels of estrogen decline significantly during menopause, which contributes to symptoms like hot flashes, mood swings, and bone density loss. Yeah. Then the second one is progesterone. Now, progesterone levels also drop, which may affect sleep patterns, mood, and menstrual cycle regulation as menopause approaches. The next one is testosterone. Yeah, testosterone. So although typically it's associated with men, ladies also have it. Testosterone is also present in women. Its levels decline during menopause, impacting muscle mass, libido, and energy levels. Now, these hormonal changes highlight the importance of tailored fitness and nutrition and wellness strategies for each lady. So the next hormone which is affected here would be the follicle stimulating hormone, FSH. Now, FSH levels increase as the body attempts to stimulate the ovaries, but the ovaries become less responsive, leading to irregular or stopped ovulation. Now, I just stop there and just say, I'm not going to go too deep into how each of these hormones affect you during perimenopause. I'm just doing an overview of how they affect you in relation to fitness. So just a reminder of that. I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't go into the chemistry of everything in terms of these hormones, yeah? Then we have luteinizing hormone. LH levels also rise, contributing to the hormonal imbalance that characterizes menopause. Then we have cortisol. This is stress and aging can lead to elevated cortisol levels, which may exacerbate menopause symptoms like fatigue and weight gain. Then there's the thyroid hormones. In some cases, changes in estrogen levels may directly affect thyroid function, potentially causing symptoms similar to hypothyroidism. That's like fatigue, weight gain, and etc. Now, the basal metabolic rate. So now we're going more into my area of expertise in terms of fitness. So BMR, you might have heard the term BMR. If you've ever tried to like get a meal plan done or a customized meal plan done, then they'll probably try to get your BMR. Now, what is your BMR? So basal metabolic rate, BMR, is the number of calories your body needs to perform basic life-sustaining functions while at rest, such as breathing, blood circulation, cell production, and it accounts for the largest portion of your daily calorie expenditure. So BMR decreases with age. So basically what we're saying here is just by you existing, just by you sitting, you are expending calories. And these calories are that's your BMR, that's your basic metabolic rate. So basically, these are the number of calories you will need every single day to just perform these basic functions, these natural functions. And if you're not getting these calories, then your body is going to have to find a way to get these calories from somewhere. And if you're getting more calories than you need to a certain level, then your body is going to store what it doesn't need and use it later when it needs it. And if it keeps storing, then you just keep adding. So basically, that's what BMR is. Calories your body needs to perform life-sustaining functions while at rest. And moving on, key points about BMR. So age, your BMR decreases with age. So the number of calories you need to sustain these functions decreases as you grow older. So the younger you are, for example, the more cells your body is producing. So you obviously need a lot more. The more breaths you take, the younger you are, the faster your heart beats. So your blood is circulating a lot quicker through your body, through your heart. Like children have just higher heartbeats and move at higher frequencies than adults and at older age. So BMR decreases with age. That's one. Gender. Men typically have a higher BMR than women due to muscle mass. So that's another thing. So the more muscle mass you have, the more your body has to work hard to sustain energy and give this muscle energy to operate. So the less muscle mass you have, the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you need to sustain this muscle. That's one reason why muscle and building muscle mass is so important for both men and women, because the more you have, the more you can eat, and the less you have, the more it now starts to tap into other stores. Yeah. Body composition. So more muscle mass increases BMR, while more fat decreases it. Yeah, the body doesn't have to do much to sustain fat. It kind of just sits there, so to speak. Yeah, and more muscle mass increases basically your metabolism. So the more energy required, the more calories required, meaning your metabolism is working a lot harder to sustain this muscle. And the last one is genetics. Some people naturally have a faster or slower BMR than others. Although genetics is here, I don't want you to dwell too much on genetics, because that's typically, in what I have seen, becomes an excuse for people not to put in the work, because there's this whole thing of, I have heavy bones, my family is like that, so I'm like that. But the question then becomes, what have you done extra, or what have you done to kind of break that cycle of what you've seen in the past? So genetics does play a role, but you can always work to change that to some extent. Okay, so why BMR matters. So knowing your BMR helps you tailor your calorie intake for weight management. That's one. Again, like if you're doing a meal plan, if you're trying to find how many calories you need to, let's say, lose weight, what we usually do is we'll get your BMR, and then from your BMR, now we'll either reduce the amount of calories you should eat or increase the amount of calories you should eat if you're trying to add weight. So we'll either put you at a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus. So let's say this is your BMR. So if it's a surplus, we'll add some. If it's a deficit, we'll lose some. We'll cut out some. So that's kind of how the BMR works. So it provides a baseline for how many calories you burn at rest, which can guide your diet and exercise plan. Yeah. As I just said right now, I just talked about how to, sorry, I just talked about so how to calculate your BMR. So a number of factors are included when calculating your BMR. So I'd ask you questions, or a coach or nutritionist would ask you questions such as your weight, your height, your age, your level of activity, basically what your lifestyle looks like. Yeah. And this, even before I go into this calculation, I'll just say this happens quite a lot. So generally, people want to know how I eat so that they can emulate what I'm doing in terms of my food and do the same thing. But it doesn't work like that. So let's just put this into a practical example. Yeah. So me, Shiv, I am 6 foot, 90 kgs, 10 to 12% body fat, and 35 years of age, and levels of activities are really high. I probably do about average of 12 to 14,000 steps a day. Then there's person B, who is, let's say, 5'2", yeah, and it's not even 5 foot, let's say 5 foot. Okay, average is like 5'3", so like 5'3", and maybe it's a lady 5'3", and they have a desk job, so that work all day, and maybe they're averaging 8,000 steps a day, and still 35 years of age. Let's have a common factor between us, still 35 years of age. So there's no way we're going to eat the same. And maybe her body fat is at 25 to 30%. Usually a healthy body fat for ladies would be around 20%. If you go below, maybe up to 15, below that, I would say you're now playing in dangerous grounds. So these two people are not going to be able to eat the same amount of food just to sustain them, just to be at their BMR. So I would probably be eating 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day, while Lady B would be eating 1,500 calories or even 1,400 calories just to sustain. Yeah. So you can see there's a difference because of the physical differences, and our lifestyles are different. And even to give a more closer example, me being this person A, and let me put another man. So let me put a man who's still 6 foot, 35 years of age, but doesn't have as much muscle mass as I have. So me, who's eating 2,500 calories a day with 10% body fat, will need that to maintain that. But someone else, the person B, will need 1,800 calories to maintain his weight, and maybe he's at 20% body fat. So he needs less calories to maintain what he has. I need more. So that's kind of how it works. So basically, the more muscle you grow and you have, the more you can eat to maintain. And the less muscle mass you have, the less your body has to work hard to maintain what it has. So you just can't eat as much as you'd like, unless, because then it just turns into fat eventually, because it's sitting there and it's not doing anything. So generally, our rule of law is, if you'd like to eat more, move more and build muscle. It's just the way it is. So yeah, it's just the way it is. Whether you're a lady or you're a man, it doesn't matter. If you'd like to eat more and enjoy more food volume, then you need to move more and you need to build more muscle. Yeah. So
Okay.
the most common,
Shiv,
yeah.
sorry, Shiv. Just let me know when you want a break. We can do some questions.
Um, I'm ready to break any time. If there are many questions and you feel like they're piling up.
I'll just pick the questions that are specifically related to what you've just mentioned, and then we can pick up the others much later.
Yeah.
So there's a question on how do you calculate body fat?
Okay. Oh, so I just answer as we go. All right. So body fat can be calculated in different ways. One is through there's a machine that scans you. You like lie down. It's called oh my gosh. I remember the name at some point, but you lie down in the machine and kind of like scans you throughout. That would be the most accurate one. The other one is there's some calipers that I have. That's you might find some coaches with this caliper. So you pinch different areas of the body. Many people don't like doing this test, but you pinch the arm at the bicep area. Yeah. I don't know. Let me see if I can show you. So practical example here. So you would pinch the arm, like you'd pinch the bicep right there. So you relax your arm, pinch your bicep. Yeah. So anything you can pinch is basically fat around your body. This is around your body. So anything you can pinch like that, so is like fat. So you pinch, then you clip it, then it shows you, it calibrates the number of millimeters that is, and then you pinch the back of your arm again, and then you pinch the side of your body, then you will pinch like your mid back under your scapula, under your shoulder blades. So you pinch all those areas. After pinching all those areas, you add them up, look at the total number. Then there's a chart. So there's a chart that determines, it's like a universal chart. So certain age and amount of the sum of what you've gotten. So it's, let's say, 35 age range, and you've gotten maybe a certain number of millimeters pinched in total, then it gives an assumption of your body fat. So that's another way. Then there's also machines where you can stand on them, hold them, and it kind of does this electromagnetic waves into your body, and it kind of gives you an assumption of what your body fat is. Not all of them are 100% proof and accurate, but once you use one, you can always go back and use the same one, because that's the one where you had the baseline, so you can keep using the same one.
So somebody has said that it's called a DEXA scan, right?
Yes, a DEXA scan.
Yeah. They're asking if there are any in Kenya.
Someone, actually, I asked this question at the beginning of the year, and someone mentioned that there's one at AAR Hospital along Kiambu Road. I am yet to see if that is accurate and correct, but it might be.
So this question is related to the earlier question on the earlier conversation around hormones. So thank you, Shiv, for taking time to learn about this. One of the biggest challenges I find in the gym is lack of awareness from male trainers, not on purpose.
Yeah.
About how menses affect us during the month, i.e. we disappear or we don't really want to, and then also perimenopause. How can we educate and make male trainers more aware of this, and then be able to adapt training to assist with this, especially for women in perimenopause?
I would say that one is now on us as men to be interested a bit more in your client's needs. And if your client base is mainly ladies, then it means that, and there's a common problem or a common trend, then I think it's important and paramount for you to take a bit more time to really understand what's going on so you can serve more correctly. I'd be honest, even for me, this was never something that, it was like taught as such. So it's just like out of just seeing most of my friends who are ladies, and from my mom and aunties, and just trying to understand what exactly they're going through, just from being a bit more inquisitive, then I get to learn. So I think it's just from forums like this, just spreading the message a lot more. And I guess also it's now puts an idea into my head and some pressure on me to try and figure out and reach out to more male trainers to be a bit more sensitive and educated on such topics.
Cool. I think you can just go ahead. I'll just package the questions as we go along.
Okay. Okay, cool. Oops. All right. So this calculation, I really don't expect anyone to try and cram it. You can, it will be available, but I'd seek help of a professional because this is kind of what I use too. This is what I use. However, from experience, from very many years of experience, it gives you a number, but what you have to do is also work with a coach who is not like strict on the number that it gives. So you kind of have to, it's a bit of trial and error because what happens is maybe you're making many changes into your life at the same time. So it will give you, let's say it says you are supposed to have 1,300 calories. But now at this 1,300 calories is, let's say your basal rate is 1,200. So from 1,200 for your BMR, now we're going to increase your calories by 200. So we'll put you, or 300 at 1,500. So 1,500 is a surplus. That's if you're trying to add weight. Or let's say it gives us 1,400, and that 1,400 is what you're supposed to eat to maintain what you have. So then we'll put you at, let's say, 1,250 calories, and that puts you at a calorie deficit, meaning it's lower than your BMR. So ideally, that deficit of now 1,250, if you eat it consistently over a number of days, you should lose a certain number of calories. So that's what we mean by like a calorie deficit or a calorie surplus. But you've also increased your level of activity. So it's usually important to kind of be as consistent as possible, eating the calories as supposed to, as is, so that after, let's say, a week or 2 weeks, we're able to see how your body is behaving. And we're able to, first of all, ask you questions such as, how do you feel, how are your energy levels, how is your sleep, are you actually seeing progress with in terms of your weight? So usually we play around with it as we move along on our journey because you also don't want to reduce too many calories quickly because it reaches a point where if you're now going below 1,000 calories, then and even lower and lower, then at the end of the day, you're just going to starve yourself. And if you're starving yourself, you're obviously going to lose weight, but you're also going to lose muscle mass. And you're also now going into dangerous territory with your bodily functions at the end of the day. And if you're trying to go on a surplus, you don't want to go on a surplus too quickly because what happens is you're just going to add too much fat too quickly. It takes a very long time to grow muscle. It takes years to grow, well, months at the beginning if you're a newbie. Then if you're a beginner, then it starts to take years. For me right now, at about 10 to 12 years of training, it takes me so long to add just a kg of muscle, But then again, it's hard for me to also lose what I have unless I just do absolutely nothing. So it takes time because there's things like muscle growth, then there's muscle maturity, and there's muscle depth and stuff like that, and now aesthetics. So it takes time to build muscle. So you want to add your calories slowly as you work out and build muscle so that you're adding mostly lean muscle and a bit of healthy fat, but you don't want to add too quickly. So I just recommend you work with a coach when you're trying to get to your BMR and beyond. Okay, I'll just keep moving. So lifestyle. Getting plenty of rest, avoiding alcohol and smoking, eating a healthy diet, and exercising consistently can help with the symptoms of menopause. Yeah. So what are the benefits? What are the benefits of exercise in midlife? So one is managing symptoms. So exercise basically helps address weight gain. It combats fatigue and stabilizes mood stabilizes your mood by releasing endorphins, endocannabinoids, and dopamine. I hope I said that right. Endocannabinoids. Wow. And dopamine, which are neurotransmitters that can improve your mood and sense of well-being. I think we've all, or maybe not all, but you've ever been in a physical activity that got your heart rate up and got your blood pumping and got you all amped up. And generally, you always feel good afterwards. It's a sweet spot where afterwards, yes, might have been a bit difficult, but you feel good, you feel fresh, you feel like amazing and like a bit of energized. So it does directly help with your mood in that sense. It combats fatigue, and obviously it helps with weight gain or weight loss. And in this case, we're talking about weight gain. So second one is benefit of exercise. It improves in your physical health. In what sense? It improves your bone density. And we see this as reducing osteoporosis risk, which is something that affects you the older you get and the farther you get into your perimenopause and into your menopause journey. And it enhances your cardiovascular health by lowering your heart disease risk. Although heart disease generally is bigger and more pronounced, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's more common in men. Ladies too can suffer cardiovascular diseases. And physical health helps you with this because you're reducing your visceral fat. That's the fat around your organs, around your heart, inside your arteries. So it's kind of preventing you from getting to that point. Yeah. Mental well-being relieves stress and improves sleep quality. And it also boosts cognitive function through regular workouts. Yeah. Moving on. So exercise helps with your sleep by helping regulate your circadian rhythm, reducing stress, and improving your mood. So let me talk about circadian rhythm. Is basically within your 24 hours, you kind of get into this rhythm where, you sleep at a certain time, the body at a certain point in the evening, you start to feel sleepy and go to bed. And naturally, your body will wake up at a certain time, even before the alarm. And then there's a point in the day of high energy and low energy, and then high energy and low energy, and then you're sleepy again, and then you're hungry. So that's kind of your circadian rhythm. So it's just what goes on throughout that 24 hours. We kind of want to get it into a consistent kind of schedule as much as possible and as much as you can, even when you travel and you come back and there's jet lag and there's time differences, you want to be able to get back into your rhythm as quickly as possible. And exercise helps with this, this circadian rhythm. How? Exercise increases your body temperature, which helps signal your body when it's time to be awake and when it's time to wind down. Exercise also increases the production of melatonin, a hormone that regulates sleep-wake cycles. Yeah. So when you exercise, you're able to take your heart rate to higher levels, and your resting heart rate gets much lower. So your body is able to see a very distinct difference between when you're resting and winding down and when you're being active and moving around. So that helps with your circadian rhythm and with your sleep. So let's move to the next part. Jambi, I think you can ask more questions now.
The next questions are around strength training. So just walk us through this, then I can ask the questions.
Okay. Understanding types of training. Strength training. So there's many definitions of strength training, but this is how I see, and this is how I would put it to kind of understand it best. So training to get strong by increasing your muscular strength, your muscular size, and adaptation of your central nervous system. So you also want to incorporate your central nervous system into your strength training and make it adapt to the high stress that helps release your growth hormone, which helps with your testosterone and your muscle building. So this is strength training. And it looks different for different people at different levels. Yeah. So lifting heavy weights builds muscle and boosts metabolism, basically burns more calories than fat tissue, even at rest. Yeah. Strength training stimulates bone-forming cells, which help increase bone density, as I talked about, which helps with osteoporosis at the older ages. Strength training can help keep hormone levels balanced. How to strength train? Yeah, so there's different ways you can strength train. You can use machines at the gym. You can use machines at home. You can use free weights at home or in the gym. You can use resistance bands, and you can use your own body weight. So there's different levels to this strength training depending on where you are and how, also what I'm looking for, and how experienced you are in working out. If you're just beginning, then you would start lower from the body weight or the resistance band. But also, it's not just about where you are, it's about what you have available to you at the time. So use what you have available to you so that there's no excuse that you don't have what you want at that time, not to strength train. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's a question that is, what exactly is strength training? Basically, she's asking, like, what does this look like? Is it different from bodybuilding? Can I lose weight from strength training? I feel like some of that has already been spoken to, but maybe you could delve in.
Yeah.
Then another question around the same thing is, how heavy should we target to lift during strength training? Could you guide in terms of kgs to lift for weight loss?
Okay. So strength training looks different for different people. So there's a question was about how does it look like? So there's different kinds of training. I wasn't going to go too in-depth in this, but I'll talk about it a little bit. So there's bodybuilding and there's different kinds of strength training. So there's bodybuilding, there's weightlifting, like Olympic weightlifting, there's powerlifting, there's strongman or woman, there is calisthenics, and there's even bodyweight strength training. Yeah, so there's different ways you can do it, but it looks different according to the adaptation that you're looking for. So if you're looking to be the strongest person in the room, then you'll probably have to train like a strongman or a power lifter. Yeah, so a bodybuilder is not usually the strongest person in the room. However, if you're looking to grow the most amount of muscle and be the most aesthetic, then you would train like a bodybuilder. Now, building muscle mass and size doesn't necessarily correlate to building the most strength. Yeah, it's a bit of a confusing one. So you can be the biggest in the room, but you're not necessarily the strongest in your room, because a bodybuilder trains for hypertrophy. Now, hypertrophy is where they're trying to look for the most time under tension with the certain movements, with the movements they're doing, as opposed to a power lifter who looks for lifting the same amount of weight the quickest. So from one part to the other with the most amount of power and pace and speed. Yeah. So strength, so they're both building strength in their own ways, but it depends on what adaptation you're looking for. Now, if you're just beginning, you can also do this at home with no weights, with just your body weight. So if you've never strength trained, then it means that your muscles are still very small and very weak. So to build the muscle, you will build strength. You can start doing like home workouts. Just body weight workouts will help build muscle, which will help get you stronger in the long run. But
Give examples, please, of body weight exercises. Some people have never really worked out, so
okay.
So an example some examples.
Okay, so an example of a body weight workout would be a squat. So simple, so from standing position to a squat 90 degrees to a standing position. So a squat would be, it would look like when you're standing, then you sit down on a chair and you stand back up. So that's a squat, yeah? But now without the chair, and that's what you're looking to do eventually. Another one would be a push-up from this position to the floor and up. But you see, even a plank is a strength workout because you're building a strong core. You're holding your body in a certain position. So you're using your core, your mid body to keep you up. So that's building strength around your core. You can do a bicep curl with a dumbbell in the gym. You can do a overhead press with a dumbbell or a kettlebell or with a machine or even with a school bag in the house. So there's different movements for different parts of the body. So we have different muscle groups and we work them all ideally at least twice a week, every week. So the different muscle groups, we would usually categorize them like this, like from a bodybuilding perspective and a muscle anatomy perspective. There's your upper body and there's your lower body. So your lower body is the biggest muscle to start with. Your legs, because you have the front part of your leg, which is your quads, the back part, which is your hamstrings, and then you have your butt, which is your glutes. So that comprises of most of the biggest muscle on the body. Next up, you have your back, which you have the lower back, mid back, upper back, and you have your traps on the back, you have your lats and your shoulders at the top, then you have your shoulders, you have your side shoulder, front, back, the top, you have your chest, you have the top of the chest, the lower of the chest, you have your abs, you have your arms. So generally the bicep is the smallest muscle that people usually work on. Then you have your triceps, you have your forearms. So there's different muscle groups and different parts of your body which we need to work equally. Yeah. I don't know if I've answered that question.
Yeah, I think that's good. Thank you so much.
I would say you kind of need a program to be made for you, and the program needs to kind of be progressive, where it starts you off slow and low with something you can manage, but is still challenging. Then as the weeks progress, it gets harder and harder. So that's what we would call progressive loading, which I will speak of in depth a bit later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so strength training can help with many aspects of menopause, and this is another one, including bone health. I think I talked about this. Yeah, so bone health, strength training can help maintain bone density and reduce risk of osteoporosis. Muscle mass, strength training can help maintain and even increase muscle mass, which can help with everyday activities, simple everyday activities. And the older we get, the harder it is to do these simple activities, such as just sitting onto a couch and getting back up, or even sitting on the floor, which I highly recommend we all do. Anything you see kids doing while watching TV or playing, sitting on the floor, I highly recommend you do it. Chairs have really messed up our mobility. I am not a fan of them. So anytime you get an opportunity to sit on the floor, it's good for you and it will help you with your mobility and flexibility. Metabolism, strength training can also boost your metabolism, which can help with weight management. Strength training can also help with heart health. I think I talked about that. Balance and stability. Strength training can help improve your balance and coordination, which can reduce the risk of falls. The less balanced we are, the easier it is for you to fall. You're not able to get into, if you trip, you're going down if you're not balanced and if you're not stable enough, especially if your core is weak, then you're going down. So you're trying to get strong to avoid situations where you're not able to hold yourself up when you can hold yourself up, basically. Yeah. Mental health, strength training can help reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression, which can be more prevalent during menopause. Hormone levels, strength training can keep hormone levels balanced. Sorry, I think my voice is going as I speak. Oh my goodness. I have a back to school cold. Sorry about it. I just decided to leave. So I'll just move. So other types of training, apart from strength training, you have aerobic exercises and anaerobic exercises. So for aerobic exercises, aerobic exercises use oxygen to produce energy. So they are longer, more rhythmic exercises, which increase heart rate and breathing rate over time, help increase endurance. So these are like jogging, like power walking, bodybuilding. These are all within an aerobic capacity. Then there's anaerobic exercises, which don't use oxygen to produce energy. Basically, you're not breathing while doing this exercise. You're not breathing in and out and in and out. Involves short, intense bursts of activity, helps increase muscle mass, power, and strength. Examples are sprints, jumping, throwing, and 1 rep max lifts in the gym. So I'll give an example here. So you've seen Kipchoge versus Omanyala. Yeah. Kipchoge is like that. Omanyala is built like a brick. Yeah. So they both they both train running. They both run, but one's a long distance runner, the other is a sprinter. So the sprinter needs lots of muscle and powerful muscle and fast twitch muscle to sprint as quickly as possible in a short distance. Generally, he's not breathing much during that time. The body is not really using up oxygen, as opposed to the long distance runner who's using their slow twitch muscles and they need less muscle mass. So they're consuming less energy because they don't need power. They need endurance over a long time. So that would be a good example. Or if you've been to the gym, for those of you who work out and you've done a 1 rep max on your squat, meaning you've done the most weight you can do for 1 rep for a squat or a deadlift, that struggle, that grind, you don't really breathe. And at the end of the movement, you always hear a guy like shouting or a lady shouting, and their eyes are red and they're like all pumped up. So that would be anaerobic also. Yeah. So then I'll then also talk about, this is just to note, compound versus accessory exercises. So in strength training, there's compound movements and there's accessory movements. So a compound movement would target multiple muscle groups and is a great movement for building foundational muscle. So in that sense, so a compound movement is a multi-joint movement. So think of any movement where you need to move 2 joints or more. So when you're squatting, your knee joint bends and your hip bends. So that's a compound movement. When you're doing a deadlift, your knee bends and you also hinge your hips. So that's a compound movement. When doing an overhead press, you move your shoulder joint and your elbow. So that's a compound movement. So compound movements are the movements that really help you build strong foundational muscle and are the best when you're incorporating strength into your workouts. And it's good to start really low if you're a beginner, and over weeks and months, you're slowly building percentages that, as long as your form is good and you're keeping safe, you're able to keep going and keep increasing your weight. Accessory movements are what would be now single joint movements. So a bicep curl, that's an accessory because you're only moving 1 joint. You see, a kickback, you're only moving 1 joint. Leg extension, you're only moving 1 joint. So those are single joint movements, and we generally just call them accessory movements. So once you've done your compound movements, then you're just trying to build and refine the muscle, and you're going into accessory movements. Then there's mobility training, which is essential for flexibility, for balance, and for injury prevention, which I highly recommend you try to incorporate into your workouts and into your movements at least once or twice a week. Then to note, I'll talk about time under tension. So time under tension, as I talked about for bodybuilding, is the amount of time a muscle is under strain during an exercise set. So if you're trying to build the most amount of muscle in the shortest time, then you're trying to put your body under the most time, your muscle under the most time under tension. So which would be bodybuilding. But if you're trying to build strength quicker, then you're trying to build muscle size, then you're going for power and speed. So time under tension involves slowing down the movement of each repetition to make your sets longer. This forces your muscle to work harder, and it basically incorporates more muscle fiber when you're going full range of motion, which can help improve muscle strength, endurance, and growth. How to increase time under tension?
Okay, one sec.
Yeah.
This is back to aerobic and anaerobic exercises. So she says, wow, never had that difference between aerobic and anaerobic so well explained. How would you propose that one trains progressively and then moves to the next level? Or is that dependent on assessment by your trainer coach? Also, what activities would you suggest one does for mobility to strengthen an injured Achilles heel?
Okay. So for the anaerobic and aerobic, I would train both of them even from now. Yeah. So your level of anaerobic might not look like someone else's level of anaerobic. So as long as basically you're putting in effort, and you see it also takes time to build intensity. So not everyone is able to have the same kind of intensity at first in the gym. So aerobic exercises are what would be easier to start with. So your body at least gets into that idea of training and you're able to build some good amount of muscle. But as you're doing that, I would take at least one day of the week to start doing some explosive stuff. So, you have to start from somewhere. So just figure out, in the next 10 seconds, how many times can I jump as high as possible? Or how in this 20 meters, so start with 20 meters. So tell yourself, I'm going to do this 20-meter sprint, obviously after warming up and stuff. I'm going to just sprint 20 meters, and then I'm going to walk slowly back. Then sprint 20 meters and walk slowly back. So in a few weeks' time, 20 meters is now going to seem like nothing. So now you're going to be like, okay, let's make it 40 meters. So you see you're increasing your capacity and you're slowly increasing your intensity and progressively loading. So this is how you progressively load over time. So whether it's with the weights, whether it's with your aerobic exercise or anaerobic. With your anaerobic, maybe you're not at the stage where you can jog yet. So you're going to say, okay, I usually walk 2 kilometers every day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to time myself with this 2 kilometers. So today I'm just going to walk how I usually walk and see how long it takes me. Then tomorrow, if it took me 25 minutes to do this 2 kilometers, I'm going to try and beat this 25 minutes and do it in 23 minutes. That's a win. 2 minutes is huge. Then the next day, maybe even 5 seconds. So you're continually just pushing yourself in that sense where you're just increasing capacity and you're progressively increasing your load over time. And you'll find yourself doing 100 meters in no time. Same thing as if you're doing a 1-rep max. You don't just enter the gym and do a 1-rep max. You're supposed to be in a program where you're building muscle fast, you have good movement. I would never ask you to do a 1-rep max if I don't feel like your form is ideal. So you're building movement, you're learning how to move your body, you're learning how to move well in the gym as you build muscle, as then you build intensity progressively, then we'll be like, okay, let's see how far you can push. And even that 1-rep max this year at the end of the year might look totally different from at the end of next year because of the kind of intensity you're able to generate from your central nervous system. It starts to really incorporate your central nervous system when you try to now push yourself more and more. I think I've answered that question. Second question, sorry, I think I missed it, or I just can't remember. What was it?
Yeah, she was asking about mobility for an injured Achilles. I don't
Okay.
know how much you're able to cover on that without having met her, but it would be good just to hear your feedback.
Yeah, in terms of injuries, I generally don't deal with injuries. I can help you if I've been coaching you and I understand your body a bit better in terms of where it's from and if I'm with you, but I would go to a physiotherapist for injuries as opposed to going to a trainer or a coach for injuries. That would be my advice. Yeah.
Thanks. You can just go ahead. We may be
Okay.
running low on time.
Yeah. So this go over time of attention real quick. So you can increase time on attention by increasing the reps and sets. That's more volume. You can target muscle groups. So if you're working on your leg, on your bicep, you can do different kinds of workouts. So you're targeting it in different ways. Control the tempo. So instead of moving 1, 2, 1, 2, you move 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's tempo. So that can be a way to increase, and it can give you a different stimulus while working out. Benefits of time and attention: they help you build muscle, and they improve muscular strength and endurance. And they also spare your joints and ligaments from injury. So instead of your joints feeling the effects of maybe your movement, it'll be your muscles that are working hard. So that is at least sparing your joints and ligaments from injury. Recommended training for midlife women, strength training. So I would focus, this is if you're looking to like make a workout plan. And again, I would advise that you consult. So strength training, I would focus on compound movements. If you can, in the gym, 3 to 4 sessions a week. Yeah. And I'd focus on lower reps, yeah, and heavier weight. But again, with time, you build up slowly because you want your central nervous system to be activated, which also helps with brain cognitive function and helps activate your growth hormone, which helps with your strength. Yeah, you do unilateral movements. That's moving like single leg lunges on one side. So you're working each of your, so your body is like in half this way, and it's also halfway this way, it's diagonally. So you kind of want to work your body in the different ways. Polarized training, I would insist on heavy weights and then also doing anaerobic exercises. So go all out on your heavy weights, all out on your anaerobic. Strength training will help conditioning your body to stress, similar to what your body will go through during perimenopause and menopause. So when you're doing this and you're lifting to a part where you're really activating your central nervous system, you're putting your body under stress and you are releasing cortisol, but you are also building muscle in the body. So this kind of prepares your body in a way so that when you're in this stage of perimenopause and menopause and you're getting stress, your body is kind of adapted to dealing with this stress better. At the end of the day, the body sees stress as stress. Yeah, whether it's from exercise or from work or from where, your body is able to handle stress better when it knows how to handle stress better. It's not like a surprise, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We don't know what to do. Where do we go? It's like, okay, this usually happens. And when this happens, we take some deep breaths or we do this and this, and we're able to regulate that. Aerobic exercise, again, 1 or 2 times a week. Anaerobic, high intensity, that's 1 or 2 times a week. And mobility, 1 or 2 times a week. And you can mix, 1 or 2 times a week.
Quick one. Somebody's asking for examples of mobility exercises. And they're also asking how many sessions. Okay, first, just go for that first, and then I can answer the next one.
Okay. It's hard to talk you through a mobility exercise because it's very practical. You have to be doing them. So I would say sitting. That's a very practical thing, which I'd have to show, or we'd have to show, like practically, this is what it looks like. Because it's like, are you dealing with mobility for your hips, or is it for your knees, or for your ankles, or for your shoulders? So it's a very practical thing that you have to do over time.
So I suggest you sign up for a session with Coach.
Yeah.
The other question is, when trying to lose weight, do you use lighter weight with more reps or heavier weights with less reps?
So you use both. So person A and person B can both work out with heavy weights in low reps, A and B. However, A is in a calorie surplus and B is in a calorie deficit. So B is going to lose weight, A is going to add weight. So the training isn't really where it's at. It's more or less how you eat at the end of the day. So your calories in versus your calories out. If you're in a deficit, you will lose. On a surplus, you will add.
Okay, right, got
Yeah.
you. And how heavy is heavy?
That's
This is
relative.
relative. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
relative.
It's relative to where you are, because it might be 20 kgs for a beginner, but that same beginner at the end of the year will be using 50 kgs. And at the end of the
Right.
next year, 100 kgs. And for me, now heavy would be maybe 200 kgs. And then, so it's relative according to your level of fitness and yeah, where you are in your journey.
Right. How many sessions can one do in the gym? 6 days a week or 4 days, or for someone who is obese and has 49% body fat?
I will start with 3 days in the gym, 3 or 4. I would start slow. I'd start with something that's very achievable. You don't want to push yourself too hard too quickly, because then you can burn out. There's a very high risk of burning out. So you kind of want to start easy, so you're really hitting, and it's such a realistic goal that you keep hitting this realistic goal, and then you keep telling yourself, I can do more, I can do more. You want to be wanting to do more and not, this is so much and I'm so tired, I'm overwhelmed, and I don't want to do this anymore, kind of thing. So you kind of want to be making it realistic at the beginning until it becomes a habit and a way of life. Then now you can start increasing your intensity after that. But then remember, it's not only about what you do in the gym, it's what you do outside the gym. You're inside the gym for an hour, but you're outside for 24 hours. You're asleep for, let's say, 7 of those hours or 8. So what are you doing for 14 hours? How much are you walking around? How much time are you taking to stand up and move around? How much time? So how are you eating? Very important. So it's your whole day. Take your whole day into account, not just the hours in the gym.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would spin be considered an aerobic exercise?
Yeah, spin is aerobic. But sprinting in intervals can be anaerobic. So you're doing an all-out sprint for 15 seconds, then resting for 30 seconds, then all-out sprinting. So that would turn into an anaerobic workout.
So using the same tools, just having different results.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So it's different methodologies of training using the same tools.
What's the most recommended weight for a dumbbell to buy for home use?
Depends on your level. For a lady, I would say buy a minimum of 4 kgs and go up to 20 kgs. Like with that, you can do a lot. With that range, you can do a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, so an important takeaway would be, our key takeaway would be consistency over perfection. Start small and build up over time. As I just said, don't beat yourself up and try to do everything all at once. You can even be in the gym for 1 month, but you haven't sorted out your diet yet, and that's fine. So the next goal is, how do we start to sort out our diet? So just one thing at a time. Don't feel the pressure to start everything all at once and just be overwhelmed and stop it all. It takes time. And remember, we're in this for the long run. We're not in this for, I'm trying to do this in 3 months. And then after 3 months, you know, what happens next? So just make it a lifestyle and a habit. Balance your intensity for fat loss and for muscle building. Still have more. I hope we have time. It's okay, let's just keep going. So longevity benefits, building strength for later life, maintaining mobility and balance into your 60s and beyond, preserving muscle mass for daily functionality, prevention of age-related decline, strong muscles and bones, reduce fall risk. I think I talked about this. It seems like a repetition. So dispelling some myths about midlife fitness. So myth one is intense workouts spike cortisol and are harmful. The truth is balance intensity is key, not avoidance. You remember you want to put some body under certain amounts of stress, just enough stress for it to activate your growth hormone and for you to get strong and build muscle. So myth, only exercise in certain phases of your cycle, only exercise in certain phases of your cycle. And the truth is consistency matters more than timing. But exercise intensity during the different phases can be taken into consideration. So don't, it's not a rule of law that if you're in this part of your cycle or not, then you can't do this. You see, it's a lot about how you feel. So when you wake up and you've been awake for 10 to 20 minutes, how do you feel? Or if you started a workout not feeling so good at the beginning, but 10 minutes in, you're feeling amazing, then push, you see. Or if you started feeling amazing, but at some point things are just going haywire and going downhill, it's okay to reduce the intensity. As long as you're showing up consistently over time, that's what matters. Myth, fasting before workouts burns more fat. Truth, fueling your body enhances performance and recovery. In fact, we're just listening to the podcast the other day where they were saying that for ladies especially, it's ideal to eat something before your workout, like a banana, yogurt or nuts or something to keep you, to activate your muscle and protein synthesis. So your body does not start to tap into its own muscle stores for energy, but it uses the food for energy and your fat for energy. So there's a lot of this fasted cardio, fasted this, fasted that. Yeah, it's just a myth. You don't have to do it to see better results. If anything, you need the protein to build the muscle. And if there are any more myths you can think of and you'd like to ask questions about, please go ahead and ask in the comments. And practical approaches to getting started. For beginners, you can start with daily walks. You can include yoga, stretching. For flexibility and mobility and stress relief, stretching before bed is amazing. It really helps with your sleep. If you can stretch and do it's like meditation. It really calms your body down. So use body weight or resistance bands for training. For intermediate to advanced, transition into gym-based weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman kind of training, focus on compound movements and progressive overload. Closing notes, fitness is a journey, not a destination. Make it a lifestyle. And consistency is key. It can't be overstated how important it is to be consistent. That's just, at the end of the day, consistency wins with fitness and health. Thank you.
Awesome. So there's a bunch of questions that were not
at the end. Yeah.
That were not directly related to any of the key points that you were running through. So I just made notes so I don't forget any of them.
Mm-hmm.
The first was, what food alternatives are there for one to meet their protein requirements?
Apart from food?
Yes. Ashley actually covered this in the nutrition page, and there was a handout that was done on protein. All the same, if you could just touch maybe on protein powders, any supplementation that can be used outside of food, it would be great.
All right, so I would say look for an whey protein isolate. So it says isolate, a whey protein isolate. So this is just the protein part of things. So it doesn't have carbs, it doesn't have fats. You're just getting protein in a bottle, basically. I'd go for that. I would also add creatine into every lady, every woman's training part of your supplementation, especially if you're training, add creatine. This basically helps replenish your ATP levels, which helps give you more strength and more power for lifting, which in return helps you get stronger and build more muscle.
Thank you.
A creatine monohydrate.
Thank you.
Monohydrate. Sorry, my voice is. Yeah, this back to school coughs. Anyway, let's go.
Yeah. I know there's no such thing as sport training, but how can I reduce my stomach, my visceral fat, as someone who is looking to also add some weight?
You have to, I would say, pick a struggle. The best way to do it would be to focus on building muscle. So focus on building muscle, and I would not put you on a deficit. I would put you at your basal metabolic rate. So if you're supposed to just have 1,400 calories, I'd leave you there, but I'd focus on building muscle. And as you build this muscle, your body will be forced to start to tap into its own fat stores. You absolutely cannot sport train and hit certain areas only and lose fat in certain areas. It's impossible. If anyone tells you otherwise, it's a lie. You can only do this through surgery, unless you're getting lipo done or like a tummy tuck or something. Then you can do it. Otherwise, you cannot sport train. Usually the first part you add weight is the last part you lose it.
Speaking of surgery, there's an interesting question on your thoughts on gastric bypass vis-a-vis gastric balloon procedures for weight loss in the long term.
The balloon is more a short-term procedure. So I would say, I think it's 6 months, then it's out. So it's good. It'll help you. But, so excuse me, let me just say that you kind of have to build the habit even after that of eating less. Because once it's out, remember the stomach is a muscle. So if this is the stomach and the balloon is here, then you can only eat this. But once it's out, it's like, oh, there's all this space that we can now fill. So it's now a mental thing. Remember, your gut is your second brain. We have this brain and we have this brain. And this brain is also quite strong and sends messages to that one saying we can eat more. So you have to be conscious about your portions in the long run. And it also depends on where you are. Is it a life or death situation where you have a lot of weight and obesity and it's not, disease is knocking? Then I would say these procedures really come in handy to help you at least get out of the red zone into the orange zones where you can start now a healthy lifestyle.
So there's a member of the OVA community who has actually had a gastric bypass, and she gave her feedback on that.
Yeah.
He says, hi, as someone who has done the bypass, I think bypass is better because the weight loss stays off for longer. With the sleeve, they can, sorry, one sec. Yeah, they can cut the stomach and eventually it can grow back. And
yeah.
And if you don't change your eating habits, then you're pretty much going back to zero. Yeah. So there's a bit of back and forth with the members of today's webinar.
Yeah.
Other than that, have I left out any question? Let me see. 1 second, please.
Also just live on IG, and I think I've seen a question or two. So I'm trying to.
Oh, and also for the people who are asking about DEXA scans, they are available at couple of clinics that have been mentioned here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can have the scan done at the recommendations are for Nairobi Hospital. Ryan, which is one of our partners, they offer body composition scans as well as bone density.
Yeah.
And somebody also had theirs done at Aga Khan, opposite Aga Khan, sorry. They just don't remember the exact name, but opposite Aga Khan. Or for all those who are looking to have their body fat measured, you can look into those options. The rest is just everybody saying thank you. Oh, there's a question about creatine.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on creatine? Can somebody who is beginning to lift use creatine, like a proper beginner? Like, I'm not just starting with walking and body weight training. I'm just now starting with walking and body weight training.
Okay, I would say for creatine, okay, I wouldn't start using a supplement immediately. If you're a beginner and you're just getting to the gym and you're just starting your workout program and journey, I would work out for a few months without creatine or any other supplementation, maybe just protein shake if you're not able to get your protein intake daily, because you kind of want to understand your body, you kind of want to understand how your body works. You kind of want to understand your strength thresholds, your recovery periods. You know, it's like a journey with your body, because you start to discover new things like, oh, this is how I feel when I do this. This is how I feel when I do this. So that now when you finally incorporate the creatine into the lifting, it kind of, you feel the difference or see a difference. However, creatine is also good for brain function. So it's like, you don't have to wait too long, but say maybe if you're like just coming to the gym, I'd give it about 2 months before I start creating. You kind of want to understand a bit about how your body behaves of that. Yeah.
Lastly, we have Shiv, please tell the babes that it's so hard to bulk up when lifting weights. Muscle is so hard to build. We should stop being afraid of lifting, because muscle is the metabolic powerhouse we need as we age to get that BMR up.
Yes, absolutely. It is so hard to build muscle. For ladies, if you're scared of bulking up and looking like a man, I'm here to tell you it will not happen. It won't happen. It's very difficult. Again, I said I've been lifting for about 12 years consistently, and I'm this size. I am nothing out of this world, you know. However, if you're looking to go into steroids, that's a different case. So just lift to build muscle. The earlier you start, the better chances you have of building as much muscle as you can and strength as you go into later life.
Thank you so much. And I'll just reiterate what everybody is saying, that this has been a really good session. And thank you so much for taking the time to, do the research, come back and speak to us with a lot of, I don't know if empathy is the word, because a lot of the time we don't feel like we're being heard. So thank you so much, Shiv. And this is the general sentiment from everybody who has attended today. So much appreciated. There is a question that I'd like Vero to answer. Vero, it seems we have some guests who are not members of the OVA community. Perhaps you could just give them a little intro. Imagine it's gone. It's Zimikad.
What's that?
Meeting is over. Is it 9 already?
Is it?
Hello?
It's still
Oh, no, it hasn't. Okay.
We're
Are we still
here.
there? Yeah, still here. Sorry, everybody. Vera, maybe you could just share a quick story on OVA and welcome everybody to the community and how they can join us, and then we can close the session. Thank you.
Hey, I hope, can you hear me, Jambi? Just confirm that.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I hope everybody enjoyed this session. Thank you so much, Shiv. For the people who attended that are not members of the OVA Circle, I'd like to welcome you guys all here. And I'm happy that you're here with us and that you joined us for this session. So pretty much the OVA Circle was born out of my personal experience and my personal challenge with perimenopausal symptoms. And I was really struggling with things like mood swings, irregular periods, my workouts are not working anymore like they used to, insomnia. So basically, the fact that I did not have information on what to expect as I was transitioning or as I was in my menopausal transition. So after months, or is it years of research, it led me to create this community called the OVA Circle to bring women together and so that we can support each other, where we can also partner with experts and service providers who can also be a pillar of our support as we transition towards menopause and get more information and empower women and to empower each other, because the only way we can advocate for ourselves is educating ourselves. And I just want every woman who is moving through life to move through it feeling like empowered and that they can do this, and really that menopause has nothing on them and you really do not have to suffer. There's solutions, there's options, and that's really the reason behind this passion project of mine. So if you're not a member of the OVA Circle, you can join us on WhatsApp. We're also on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, the page is at the OVA Circle, and you'll find the link to join the WhatsApp community in the bio. And you can also reach out on the email that you registered, the overcircle@gmail.com, and we can add you on there. And that's it. And you guys are all welcome. It's a thriving community. The conversations there are great. We have an expert on nutrition. We have Coach Shiv for fitness. We have our chat room is really thriving with women sharing constantly what their experiences are and getting encouragement and support. And also, it's by sharing that we create awareness on what really happens as we transition towards menopause. We also have a group about supplements, all about supplements. It's really such a great, safe, and empowering space, and you guys are all welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Coach Shiv. Thanks, Jambi, and have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, V. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Shiv.